Leftist rag rolls out RINO lawmakers to manufacture a DOGE revolt within the GOP. There is no revolt, just to be clear. There are revolting people, members of the Uniparty swamp, all the Democrats, and a decent-sized number of Republicans who are going against this, going against President Trump, going against Elon Musk, but they're doing so in a way that is, well, the Democrats are doing it openly and just making fools of themselves. The Republicans that are going against it aren't really, well, let's face it, they're not really Republicans. I mean, I've seen some of the complaints, and it's like, okay, yeah, let's dismiss that one. But that's not going to prevent left-leaning organization, news outlet, if you want to call it that, Axios, from continuing to get rid of as much of their credibility as possible. Keep in mind, I have liked Axios in the past, just as I've liked Politico and The Hill. Those three legacy media left-leaning outlets have, up until very recently, been semi-fair. Of course, they were left-leaning, but they weren't like, oh, give every Democrat a total pass. We've come to learn that Politico has been doing that, but they would then throw out the token anti-Democrat. They did a hit piece on Obama once that freaked everybody out, right? So they were willing to try to play semi-fair. Same thing with Axios, same thing with The Hill, but all three of them have gone the way of MSNBC, WAPO, New York Times. They're going radical. Okay, you got some like the LA Times, and I mentioned WAPO, but you have some that are actually kind of trying to creep back to the center. They see the writing on the wall. They see the death of legacy media in the future. The understanding that the vast majority of Americans are finally starting to realize that legacy media is Democrat media. So they're trying to correct that. Some of them are, but others, such as Axios, are going off the deep end because they feel like maybe they've been too close to the center for too long. Here's the article. It's by Andrew Solander and Steph W. Kite. Trump faces growing DOGE revolt from GOP lawmakers. Now, I'm not going to read the article because it's ludicrous. Okay, number one, it's not growing. The people that were complaining have been complaining. I've been keeping track of this, watching these RINOs, seeing if any non-RINOs hop on board, and none of them have. I mean, the American people are realizing that DOGE is doing some incredible work, and so even some of the more, I don't know, we'll call them Uniparty swamp light members of the Republican Party, they've stayed clear of criticism. They might not like it. They might feel like they could get exposed. They might lose some of their whatever USAID juice or whatever they want to call it. But they're embracing the fact that DOGE is popular. President Trump is extremely popular, and Elon Musk is very popular, as we saw last night in their brotherly interview with Sean Hannity. Point is that Americans like what's happening, and so the Republicans who might be speaking out aren't. The only ones that are the RINOs, and that's why it's funny. Again, I'm not going to read the article, but I want to highlight who they're pointing out as far as this growing revolt. They're trying to manufacture a narrative, folks. It's so obvious, but unfortunately, some people are going to buy into it. Their first batch of complaints comes from an anonymous member of Congress, of course. Their second batch of complaints comes from an anonymous senator. No, another congressman. Now we get to somebody's willing to put their name in. Let's see who it is. That would be Susan Collins, the RINO's RINO out of Maine. Yes, Senator Susan Collins is concerned about Elon Musk. As if we didn't expect that one. Let's see, who else do we have here? Ooh, Don Bacon. Don Bacon, another mega RINO out of Nebraska. Keep going. Who up? There she is. We knew she was going to be on the list. Lisa Murkowski, the least qualified member of Congress that has ever existed. Okay, and yes, that does include comparing her to people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Okay, yes, Lisa Murkowski is actually less qualified. Believe it or not. And I'll talk about that some other day probably. She's less qualified than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I am not kidding you. Who else we got? We got Bill Cassidy, super RINO. Chuck Grassley, on again, off again RINO. But even his complaint isn't really a complaint. He says it's a tragedy for people that are getting laid off. I get it. I mean, it sucks when people get laid off, but even in his quote-unquote complaint, he does say that Congress can't do anything except complain about it. So there's that. There's no growing revolt, Axios. Come on. If anything, support for DOGE is greatly growing, not just amongst Republicans, but even amongst independents and Democrats. They're seeing what's happening. They're seeing the reports, even though legacy media is doing their best to ignore them. People are seeking out the reports. They're watching President Trump, who actually, I don't know, he actually talks to the press and talks to the people, unlike his predecessor. I mean, it's the narrative is very clearly on the side of reducing waste in America. Now let's address what a lot of these people are saying, and they're saying it in many ways, not so much because they feel like they can stop DOGE or stop Trump. These talking about the RINOs within the uniparty swamp. Their real complaint is that, hey, or not complaint, but their real intention is to tell their constituents, hey, I know you guys lost your job. I'm going to say something about it, but there's not much I can do because, I'm just one member of Congress, one senator, whatever. But they're going out there and they're saying, oh, we feel bad for the people that are losing their jobs. I hate it when anybody loses their job. It sucks to lose your job. If you've never lost your job before, then consider yourself very blessed because it sucks. I've lost jobs in the past. When I was a kid, there were jobs that I lost where it's like, wow, that sucked to lose that job. Okay, so anyway, I'm not even going to try to relate, but I will say this, that all of these people, all of these poor people that are being wronged by DOGE, they were all offered 8 months salary. 8 months. That's 2/3 of a yearly salary that they were offered to go sit at home, to go get another job, to do. And I mean, what, 80,000 people took DOGE and Donald Trump up on his offer? The people that are getting fired, they have the same opportunity. Okay? I mean, they chose to roll the dice and see what happened. And what happened is they now lost their job and they didn't get their 8 months worth of pay. Does that suck for them? Sure. Did they make a bad choice? You bet they did. Government needs to be reduced, and we need to take a hatchet to it, which is exactly what DOGE and Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the various teams are doing. This is required. We will not survive as a nation. Let's say everything is hunky-dory. The economy comes back as it's in the process of doing, and we don't get involved in any foreign wars and tariffs work and taxes. Everything's just perfect, awesome, amazing. No bad things happening. China doesn't do anything. They start bowing to Trump and J.D. Vance. And I mean, if everything goes perfect, we still, as a nation, will crumble under the weight of our national debt. If we don't address that, then there's nothing else that can happen that can prevent our nation from dying. So do I feel bad for people that lose their job? You bet. But at the end of the day, they were given an offer and they had to make a choice. They chose the path of business as usual. They chose the path of, oh, this president's going to be like every other president in the past. What they didn't realize is there's one thing that makes Donald Trump very much different than all of his predecessors, at least during my lifetime. And that's the fact that he said he was going to do it, and he's actually doing it. You can not only find my work, but also my amazing sponsors by going to jdrucker.com/find, jdrucker.com/find. Scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see a list of people that support this show, that make this show possible. And you can get coffee or beef or crypto or whatever, and it will help to benefit this show, help to keep us on the air.